Now on CoastTV News.
Airlifted after a propeller accident. Lost at sea, everything we know about the missing swimmer in Rehoboth Beach. A sea turtle in distress, where officials say to look out for this loggerhead turtle. And a campaign celebration, Democrats rallying for Alana Berry as the District 20 special election creeps closer.
And we had ourselves a really nice weekend on Delmarva. Warm and humid. We'll see some fog develop tonight, but we're flipping the script as we start a new week. Yes, we're going to turn unsettled with some flash flooding threats. We'll talk all about it in my full forecast.
This is CoastTV News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Brandon Ferguson. Welcome to CoastTV News at 11. We begin tonight with a boating accident in Ocean City. A boater suffered a serious head injury Sunday afternoon when they were struck by a pontoon boat propeller. This happened just before 4 p.m. today, according to the Ocean City Fire Department. And Maryland State Police Aviation Command was called in and airlifted the injured boater to a nearby trauma center. The victim's condition has not yet been released and is still unknown. Up the coast in Rehoboth Beach yesterday, first responders rushed to the beach to try and find the man that was lost at sea, and they have yet to find anything. CoastTV News reporter Kevin Sapay shows us people's reaction to the lost swimmer.
Sam Albert and his family love vacationing in Rehoboth Beach every year, but what they saw Saturday night was something they've never encountered before during their stay.
Last night we were actually out on the patio and we saw the police cars and the ambulances and everybody swarmed down here.
Ian Stewart was near the first responders that night and found out that a person was lost at sea.
We had heard from another bystander that a group of teens were over here. One of them was screaming the name of one of their friends that they had just gone missing.
On Saturday, just after 7:30 p.m., the Rehoboth Beach Police Department was called to the beach near Olive Avenue for a report of a missing swimmer. From there, first responders in the area began to search for the individual.
I couldn't even imagine that sort of thing happening.
People lost at sea may be more common than you think. Just 2 years ago in Rehoboth Beach, Richard Boateng was lost at sea, and first responders later found the body washed up on shore. Albert hopes there will be a different outcome this time around, and warns everyone about the dangers of going too deep, especially when lifeguards are off duty.
Listen, don't go in deep, because there's always that danger, and you saw the reality of it last night, So please don't go out there too deep.
After hours of searching, the Rehoboth Beach Police came out saying they are suspending their search for the missing swimmer. I'm Kevin Zapay, Rehoboth Beach, CoastTV News.
And it is important to note that lifeguards were not actively on the beach when the police say the swimmer went missing. In Rehoboth Beach, lifeguards are on duty from 9:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. on weekends, and on weekdays, lifeguards are on the beach from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. For a full article on this swimmer that went missing in Rehoboth Beach, you can head right now to coasttv.com. And we're now going to take a live look into Milford and bring in our first alert meteorologist, Chris Mastrobuono. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Brandon. It was a beautiful weekend, not all that hot, still on the humid side, just a good old-fashioned summer weekend on Delmarva. Temperatures, well, we had a pair of 87s both Saturday and Sunday in Georgetown, and now we're going to begin to see some changes, though, as we roll into the new week. We're at 75 right now in Milford, dew point 71. We'll likely see some fog, some low-level moisture, some mist develop along the coast tonight. We're at 76 in Bethany, 74 Long Neck, 77 in Lewis, and we are at 75 in Laurel. We are quiet, free of any rain. We had a few stray showers pop up, far reaches of the eastern shore, pushing up into just east of Annapolis, but you can see some of the scattered shower and thunderstorm activity. We're keeping a close eye on this frontal boundary that's ever so slowly pushing to the south and will make its way into our neck of the woods Monday afternoon through Monday evening. Now, we start the day tomorrow with the fog. We see partly sunny skies through the afternoon. Most of the day is dry, especially along the coast, and then I expect a few showers to begin to develop after about 3 o'clock along the eastern shore and then slowly kind of push eastward throughout the latter part of the afternoon. So an unsettled start to the week, scattered showers and storms. And then as we get into Monday night through Tuesday, concerned about some flash flooding across the area. I think we're going to get a band of heavy rain that sets up all across the peninsula as we get into Tuesday afternoon. And then behind that, yeah, we're going to turn up the heat. Sweltering heat and humidity builds back in. We're talking about those heat indices going back up to over 100 degrees. We'll talk more about the rain earlier in the week. Come up in that full forecast. Brandon.
Thank you, Chris. And boaters are asked to be on alert for that loggerhead sea turtle on your screen. It's been reported to be in distress in the Indian River Bay. The turtle has an injury to the rear of its top shell, causing it struggling to dive and is covered in algae and barnacles. MER is actively trying to locate it. If you see this turtle, you're asked to contact MER immediately and, if possible, stay with it until help arrives. And just 1 week ago today, this loggerhead sea turtle was rescued off the coast of Ocean City. The animal was spotted struggling to swim. Dive teams, along with Towboat US and the National Aquarium, pulled the turtle to safety. And staying in Ocean City, tomorrow emergency dredging operations will kick off in the Ocean City Inlet. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is performing the dredging to restore safety for boaters ahead of the White Marlin Open. Maryland DNR says the northern half of the harbor channel will be closed to boat traffic while this dredging is performed. The operation is expected to take 8 to 10 days in Ocean City. And now moving to local politics, Republican candidate for the District 20 special election, Nikki Miller, is holding a campaign event tomorrow afternoon at the Nicola's Pizza in Lewis. Last week, Miller was selected as her party's candidate by the Sussex County Republicans, and this is Miller's second attempt at the seat. She lost in November to Stella Parker Selby by just 275 votes. Her opponent, Alana Berry's campaign kicked off yesterday morning in Milton. With the election just over 3 weeks away on August 5th, Berry says this marked the start of door knocking and meeting as many voters as possible. Supporters gathered at Milton Memorial Park to get their yard signs and listen to Democratic officials from across the state. Berry says the reasons why she's better fit to serve District 20 over her opponent are plain and simple.
I have experience in government and from Dover, and I think regardless of party or seat, that's what the state needs right now, given what we're going to have to face in the coming years based on what's happening federally and what's happening here locally. This seat, we're jumping in the middle of a legislative session, and I think we need somebody who can jump in and be helpful.
The special election comes after former District 20 Representative Stella Parker Selby resigned following her long-term absence due to ongoing health issues. And now to national politics. A scathing new report tonight revealing new information about what went wrong and what's being done after of what's described as an unacceptable breakdown leading up to the assassination attempt against President Trump 1 year ago today. Shaquille Brewster has more.
This is a big crowd. This is a big, beautiful crowd.
A disturbing pattern of communication failures and negligence led to this moment in Butler, Pennsylvania.
Take a look at what happened.
According to a new Senate report released 1 year after the attempt on Donald Trump's life. Evading detection for nearly 45 minutes, 20-year-old Thomas Crooks fired 8 shots at then-candidate Trump from a rooftop. Crooks was killed shortly after. The Republican-authored report finding the Secret Service denied multiple requests for additional staff, assets, and resources, and that agents failed to communicate crucial information to Trump's detail. The shooting killing 50-year-old firefighter Corey Comparator, injuring 2 others, and rocking the 2024 presidential race. This latest investigation criticizing insufficient accountability. While former director Kimberly Cheadle resigned, the report saying not a single person has been fired. 6 employees were disciplined only days ago, given suspensions without pay ranging 10 to 42 days. 1 year since the shooting, President Trump at another major public event tonight, attending the FIFA Club World Cup at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. In an interview aired on Fox News last night, saying mistakes were made, but expressing confidence in the Secret Service.
I know the people, and They're very talented, very capable. They had a bad day, and I think they'll admit that. They had a rough day.
And tonight, the Secret Service says it has already implemented substantive reforms to address failures from that day, like updating the official manual to streamline communication practices and launching a new aviation division to better support missions.
Police have identified 27-year-old Devin Flamer as the man who died in a Bridgeville car crash early yesterday morning. Troopers say a Buick Century was speeding south on Wilson Farm Road when it ran a stop sign at Cannon Road and then hit a concrete barrier and overturned. DSP says Flamer was not wearing a seatbelt and died at the scene. And a deadly crash in Milford Friday morning left one man dead and 2 others injured. Just after 7:30 a.m., Delaware State Police say a Chevrolet Tahoe lost control on Coastal Highway near Bakerfield Road, crossed the median, and slammed into a Chrysler minivan head-on. The crash killed the 71-year-old driver on the minivan from Pennsylvania, and 2 other cars were also involved. One hitting the minivan from behind and another striking the Tahoe's detached engine. The Tahoe's driver still remains in critical condition. The highway was closed for about 4 hours on Friday morning, and Coast TV News reporter Emma Aiken shows us drivers' reactions to this crash.
This was Route 1 Friday morning near Milford. One person was killed and the road was shut down for hours. This is just one accident on Route 1 this week. Another at Hudson Road sent 2 people to the hospital. Local David Heffley says it's a real problem.
They're not aware sometimes that they're driving a lethal instrument, really. It's what an automobile can be.
Police are investigating the deadly crash in Milford. In Milton, troopers say a car was trying to cross the highway when it drove into oncoming traffic.
Driving down in Lower Slower, Delaware, it's no longer Lower Slower, Delaware.
Gretchen Beanert says she tries not to drive Route 1 at all.
I found back roads, which is much better, less traffic. But yeah, people are just so much in a hurry. It's ridiculous. So I avoid it.
Heffley says something needs to be done.
Obviously, improvements in the infrastructure, but that's going to take a while. If ever, more increased police protection will help to a point, but really it's education.
As summer traffic drives on, some say they are simply done with Route 1. For Coast TV News, I'm Emma Aiken.
And this brings us to our Coast TV poll. We want to know, what's the main cause of serious crashes on Route 1? Let's take a look at the updated results from last night at 11. So far, 57% saying speeding and 42% saying distracted driving. If you haven't voted yet, you still can on our website or on our Coast TV News mobile app. Visitors at the Delaware Seashore State Park will have to stay clear of some areas starting tomorrow. DenRec says crews will be testing the sand bypass system around the Indian River Inlet. Crews will be moving large amounts of sand through high-pressure pipes from the south side to the north side. Entering active work zones will be prohibited as pumping operations will be dangerous. Those tests will run through Monday through Thursdays for the next 4 weeks at the Indian River Inlet.
Well, I'm tracking a round of downpours tomorrow afternoon and then another round coming Tuesday, both posing the threat of flash flooding. We'll talk about that and the return of some sweltering heat ahead.
30% tariffs going into effect on August 1st, what countries are affected, and how businesses feel about these tariffs.
This is Coast TV News at 11.
Yesterday, the president announced the U.S. will impose 30% tariffs on imports from 2 of its largest trading partners, Mexico and the European Union, beginning on August 1st. Business owners are weighing what that means for their bottom line and for you. Emma Goss explains.
Fresh food comes at a high price these days for shoppers and for store owners, like Maria Guadalupe Lopez, whose 9 grocery stores have been eating the extra costs of many imports. Now, she says the threat of higher tariffs on imports from Mexico and Europe are too steep to absorb.
I think we have reached the limit. At this point, there's no way that we can, keep eating those costs. because otherwise we're going to go out of business. And unfortunately, that's the fact for every small business.
Meaning you'll be paying more for imports like olive oil from Italy and fresh tomatoes and avocados from Mexico.
I am extremely concerned because every tariff that comes into effect, regardless of what country it comes from, is an increment on groceries. It's an increment on the consumer. It's an increment on the food on the table.
And it's not just the price of food that could be going up. This Mexican market imports all kinds of things, from laundry detergent to party supplies from Mexico.
The owner of Fiesta Mexicana in East San Jose said her business and many other Mexican markets in the area are already struggling. Fears of ICE arrests in the area have hurt business. She says higher tariffs will too.
Consumers and businesses should be concerned because there is no time to bring products in early to offset the incoming tariffs. Everything is going to cost more over time.
The European Commission president responded to the announcement, threatening retaliatory tariffs. Mexican officials pushing back, saying these new tariffs are unfair treatment. The president warning of even higher tariffs if either trade partner retaliates.
At least 2 people are dead and multiple others injured following a series of shootings that unfolded in Lexington, Kentucky this morning. Police say a gunman opened fire on a state trooper near the Bluegrass Airport during a traffic stop before carjacking a vehicle and fleeing to a church where another shooting occurred. The suspect was shot by responding law enforcement and was pronounced dead at the scene.
4 individuals were shot on church property. 2 female victims were pronounced deceased at the scene. The other 2 victims, both male, were transported to a local hospital. 1 victim was reported to have sustained critical injuries, and the other was reported in stable condition.
Coming up next, an update on the deadly Texas floods as the search continues, and Iowa suffering from flash flooding. We have these stories next.
And a cold front's going to spawn some drenching storms over the next 2 days. We'll track the storm threat and some sweltering heat in that 7-day forecast when Coast TV News at 11 continues. Well, whether you were on land or sea this weekend, I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend. We certainly did pretty good weather-wise. The ocean's been nice and warm. And we're going to turn things pretty unsettled as we go into the day tomorrow and then Tuesday. We're at 75 right now in Salisbury, 73-degree dew point. We're likely going to see another round of fog tonight, especially along the coastal plain as we see some kind of marine influence push in. 76 Bethany Beach, we're at 73 Long Neck, 76 Georgetown, and we are at 75 in Harrington. The humidity, well, that is not going anywhere. In fact, by the end of the week, it's going to get even worse as we're going to be talking about triple-digit heat indices rolling back into the picture. We've been staying rain-free for most of the peninsula. We saw a few spotty showers around Cambridge earlier this afternoon, and then we see a few of them pushing to the north just east of Annapolis. But most of the activity over the weekend has been off to our west. This has been the zone of severe weather and flash flooding. We're keeping a close eye on this cold front that's pushing southward ever so slowly and will likely stall over the region as we go into Monday night through Tuesday, and that's going to spawn scattered showers and downpours really from Monday through Wednesday, and then we see more isolated storm chances by the end of the week. So not a bad day overall at the coast tomorrow. 80s to lower to mid 80s with afternoon and evening showers and storms. The severe threat is very low. Can't rule out an isolated storm. So far as severe threat is concerned, the main threat is back off to the west, but these storms will pack primarily the threat of flash flooding. You could see that slight risk of excessive rainfall and then a marginal risk of excessive rainfall as we go into the day on Tuesday. So as we go into tomorrow afternoon, you see some of those storms begin to bubble up around Salisbury, just into Sussex County. Not all that widespread, but where they do form, they're going to dump a lot of rain. Then as the front approaches Tuesday early morning hours, we see a few downpours rolling into the wee hours of Tuesday morning, but then that front is going to kind of stall out Tuesday morning into Tuesday afternoon. And what that's going to do is going to kind of form a band of heavy rain over the area. Where that exactly sets up remains to be seen, but I think a good bit of the peninsula is going to see a good dose of rain Tuesday into Wednesday, and as has been the case most of this summer, these bands that set up don't move all that much, and they kind of just rain themselves out, kind of train in the same areas. So there may be a flash flooding concern as we go into the day on Tuesday. Now, as far as rainfall total is concerned, this model's really bumped up the rainfall, but I could see a general 1 to 3 inches with some locally higher amounts where those heavy bands do in fact set up. By the end of the week, Thursday through Friday, yes, we're talking about the return of 100 to 105 degree heat indices. 72 tonight with the areas of fog. We're at 87 tomorrow, 85 on Tuesday with scattered showers and storms. And there's that sweltering heat and humidity building in Wednesday through Friday, and we keep isolated storm chances in the picture.
Thank you, Chris. And slow-moving thunderstorms in parts of central Texas are producing heavy rain that's triggered flash flood warnings for the many of already flood-ravaged areas. The heavy rains temporarily halted recovery efforts Sunday due to the risk of flooding. The death toll from last week's flooding has now risen to at least 129, and more than 150 people are still missing. Ivan Rodriguez has more on the weather and the recovery efforts.
Heavy rain Sunday pummeling parts of central Texas, already reeling from last week's catastrophic flooding. Officials concerned about the Guadalupe River swelling once again. People near Hunt received emergency alerts Sunday, warning them of a high probability of the Guadalupe River reaching flood stage and urging people to get away from the river immediately. Ground search operations were temporarily halted with more storms on the way. Crews have been scouring the flood-ravaged areas for more than a week now. More than 100 people have been killed and scores are still missing. The mayor of Kerrville released a video statement Saturday about the help his town has received from state and federal officials.
They showed up in force, and they've been here every day since, working 24/7.
His comments come amid backlash over the Federal Emergency Management Agency's response. While search and rescue crews from around the country immediately rushed to help, FEMA did not arrive until Monday evening, days after any victims had been found alive. There's also many questions about the state's flood preparedness and a lack of immediate alerts notifying residents about the floods. Some Texas leaders are demanding answers.
We can't just allow girls to drown in the middle of the night. We have to make sure we protect everyone.
At the local level, Texas state leaders say they will focus on pushing legislation that deals with flooding and resources, including an alert system, during their upcoming special session. In Kerrville, Texas, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
A state of emergency has been declared in Scott County, Iowa due to flash flooding. First responders evacuated people from their homes overnight in Davenport due to the rising water. So far, there are no injuries reported, and the Scott County Emergency Management Commission says teams are canvassing the area to assess storm-related damage. Coming up, we bring you the highlights from the Phillies game, and we also catch you up with the Nationals and Orioles before the All-Star break. That's up next. The Phillies headed into today's matchup losers of 2 straight and look to get back in the winning column today. And Bryson Stott up, he grounds to first. Harper would end up scoring after a high throw from the Padres. The Padres had 2 errors just in the first inning. The Phils up 1-0. Now we move to the bottom of the 6th. 2 runners on for Jose Iglesias, and he would sneak one past Bryson Stott at second and get an RBI to tie things up at 1-1. A low-scoring game here in San Diego, but that's when JT Realmuto puts one into the gap, an RBI double for the catcher. He went 2 for 4 on the day with 1 RBI, and that RBI would do enough for the Phillies to win. They win 2-1 heading into All-Star break. And now we head over to Baltimore, where the Marlins are in town. Starting off in the top of the 2nd, former Oriole Kyle Stowers at the plate, and he takes that splitter and he puts it over the right center field fence. Kyle Stowers home run. Remember that, Kyle Stowers home run. And we're going to head to the top of the 2nd or 3rd, where Kyle Stowers, he's in the box and he puts it over the right center field fence again. Back-to-back for Stowers. Another one to put the Marlins up 4-0. And now Miami up 5-0 in the top of the 5th. And who else but Kyle Stowers 3-home run game, Stowers' first career 3-home run game, and he becomes the 4th player in franchise history to do it. Marlins win big in Baltimore 11-1. And we covered the Phillies, we covered the Orioles, so let's catch up with the Nationals. The Brewers got things going early in Milwaukee. In the bottom of the second, Anthony Sigler brings in 2. Sigler with his first RBIs of his career after being called up last week. And now jumping forward to the bottom of the 8th. That's where Jackson Chourio sends his 16th home run of the season into the stands. And that opened up the game big for the Brewers. They win this one 8-1 as the Nationals head into the All-Star break on a 4-game skid. We covered some sports, so we're going to get to some weather as we take a live look into Salisbury after the break here on Coast TV News at 11. We have a final check on your forecast. Each Friday, you can cheer up with a weekly dose of local good news from Coast TV. It's full of features, cool things to do each weekend, and more. You can sign up now for our Feel Good Friday newsletter at coasttv.com/sign-up. And Murr had an unusual call Friday morning. A mother and her calf pair of bottlenose dolphins had been spotted near Milton's Memorial Park on Friday. Take a look at this on your screen. Murr says these dolphins were likely in the area seeking fish, and while uncommon, there are reports of dolphins in the Broadkill on a regular basis. When the tide turned, Murr says the dolphins quickly swam back out of the river.
Enjoying those warm waters out there, and it's been a mild night. Pleasant night at that. We're going to see some fog develop, especially along the coast. We're at 75 here in Salisbury. Not much in the way of fog there at this hour. We'll see partly to mostly cloudy skies overnight, falling into the lower 70s. Now tomorrow we're looking at highs generally in the lower to mid 80s along the coast, and then inland through the eastern shore, mid to upper 80s. We are watching the threat of some storms firing up late afternoon through the early evening. Some of those could produce some gusty winds and drenching downpours. You can get your forecast anytime by dialing the First Alert Weather phone. Now we keep the shower and storm threat in play Tuesday as that front stalls out over the area. Could see some localized flash flooding, so keep a close eye on that. And then the heat really begins to kick in Wednesday through Friday. We're going to see heat indices anywhere from 100 to 105 with really daily isolated thunderstorm chances, and we keep the heat in play through next weekend.
Thank you, Chris, and thanks for joining us here for Coast TV News at 11. For more news and local weather, download our Coast TV News app. We'll see you in just a few hours for Coast TV News Today, starting at 5 a.m. Have a great night.